I'm back again. Ron Sukenick here, and I want to talk to you about an acronym. I want you to write this down, I-R-A. The I is about impression, the R is about repetition, and the A is about association. Now let me tell you what I'm talking about. How many of you, really, how many of you are impressed with people when you meet them? Just raise your hand. I may be able to see that. But here's what I mean by that. If you're not easily impressed, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But here's what happens when you're easily impressed. You attract people to you. In fact, when you're easily impressed, people will remember your name and will refer business to you. So my concept is, hey, become impressed with people. R is repetition. Repetition will build your reputation. The fact is you've got to stay consistent. Are you always shaking hands with people? Are you always passing business cards to people? And are you always following up? Repetition will build your reputation. And the A is association. Whenever you go out and you're meeting people anywhere in a networking environment, I always want you to mention the names of people, places, and things. People, places, and things. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. When was the last time you ever heard the expression, it's such a small world, isn't it? Like, come on, raise your hand. I got it. You hear it all the time, every week, every month, every year. But do you know what that really means? Let me give you an example. I went to a home and patio show a few years back. And I was walking around, and I'm sure you've got it in your area. My hometown is Indianapolis, Indiana. But here's what happened. I go to this table, and I meet this lady. She's got a crown on her head. She was the current Miss Indiana. And I walked up to her, and I said hello. And by the way, whenever I meet people, and I'm really playing it out, and I'm going after the relationship, I always listen 3 times as much as I speak. You see, when I speak, I learn what I know. And when I listen, I learn what you know. So let's get back to it's such a small world, isn't it? So I'm listening to her, I speak for a minute, I listen 3 times as much as I speak, and then what I do, and by the way, her name is Bryn Chapman. I want you to remember that. I'll come back to it in just a moment. Her name is Bryn Chapman. And so all I did was shake her hand. I say, Bryn, what a pleasure to meet you. My God, it sounds like a great cause. Good luck with your audition with the Gaithers, because she was trying out for this gospel group called the Gaithers. And I said goodbye to Bryn. 6 weeks later, I'm in a training session, and I say to everybody, tell me who you are and what you're about and what are you most proud of. And this guy stands up. He says, my name is Dan Chapman. I'm the marketing director for a company called You Build It, and I'm most proud of my little girl who is the current Miss Indiana. Now, I know what you're thinking, right? 6 weeks before that, I'm talking about a Bryn Chapman, right? 6 weeks later, he says he's most proud of his little girl who's the current Miss Indiana. I remember that. That's what she was. So I said to Dan, I think I met your little girl. He says, really? Like where? And then I start to, and I want you to really get this part of it down. You see, the first part of making connection and building relationships with people is to get them thinking. How many of you agree that I got Dan thinking? Thank you. So here's what actually happened. So I said, Dan, I think I met your little girl. I was at the home and patio show. And what was so amazing about it is I meet this girl, a real pretty blonde girl. And in fact, she said she was a music student at Indiana University, which is a college here down in southern part of Indiana. And she said she was trying out for a group called the Gaithers. She said she was number 10 in the Miss America contest. And then I said, Dan, I think I met you. Her name was Bryn Chapman. And you know what Dan says to me? He looks at me, he goes, wow, it's such a small world, isn't it? I said, no, Dan, it's not. And he goes, what? How many of you agree I got Dan thinking twice in the same conversation? See, if I can get people thinking when I meet them, I can create impact at the point of interaction. You see, it's a small world when you can get people to think and at the same time recalling information at the point of interaction. So when you're out and you're wanting to make a tremendous impact between you and others, I want you to start thinking about the concept of making it a small world. Let me give you another quick example. I go to a networking event. I'm looking around, I meet all these interesting people, and what do I find? I see somebody smiling. And I say to somebody, hey, by the way, it looks like it's your birthday. Now, I know that's a long shot. I know you're saying, hey, Ron, what's the chances today's their birthday? Because the odds are 1 in 365. But you know, the fact is I got lucky that day, and the guy says, yeah, it's my birthday. And I look at him and I say, wow, you're not going to believe this, but do you know that I also have a birthday this year as well? And he goes, wow, that's really funny. It's such a small world, isn't it? I say, no, it's not, unless you and I can recall information at the point of interaction. You see, it's our ability to recall information at the point of interaction that makes it a small world. But I want you to think about the connection for a minute. What was the connection between me and Dan Chapman? You're right, it's his daughter. So you see, the connection is never between you and the person you just met. It's always between you, that person, and something else. Now, by the way, if I can jump over, remember I met the guy we're having the birthday and we got lucky? I said, I have a birthday this year as well. And then I just happened to say, and by the way, you're not going to believe, and he says to me, he says, Ron, when is your birthday? Now, if I stick to my program about getting people thinking, do you think I'm going to tell him the date of my birthday? No, I got to get him thinking. So I say to him, I say, well, John, my birthday, I was born about 86 years after the start of the Battle of Gettysburg. Now think about that for just a second. I got him thinking. Now he's laughing and he's saying, wow, I come to a networking event. Next thing you know, I've got a little history quiz going on. But the fact is, if I can get him to connect the dots, if I can get him to think about it, he can probably figure out I was born on July 1st, which was the beginning of the Battle of Gettysburg. I'm not going to tell you the year. You're going to have to figure that out on your own. But I'll tell you, when you're out meeting people, the connection is never between just you and them. It's between you, them, and something else. Make it a small world every day.